As a matter of fact, the example that we use in Module 20, this glass phosphor example, if you'll remember, there were two glasses involved. So there was glass number 1 and glass number 2, and there were 3 phosphors involved. There was phosphor 1, phosphor 2, and phosphor 3. And if you will recall again that example from Module 20, there were 3 data points for each tube type. That is, what one has in that example, although we didn't use or make use of this structure in Module 20, is that we have a complete 2 by 3 factorial. It's a complete 2 by 3 factorial. There's a bit of additional jargon associated with the fact that when I look in these cells, all of these cells have the same number of observations in them. There were 3 observations for each type of TV tube, and so the jargon for that is that the data in that example are or have a structure that one could call a balanced complete 2 by 3 factorial. So this word means all sample sizes the same. As a matter of fact, if you go back to Module 20 and look at some of the things that were written down there, it will be useful for us in this discussion to have available the cell averages for that example. So again, same labeling. This is glass and this is phosphor. We had Y bars that in Module 20 we just called Y bar number 1 through Y bar 6, just naming these cells: cell 1, cell 2, cell 3, cell 4, cell 5, and cell 6. Rather than using that notation in this module, we're going to do things that specifically have to do with the two-way structure of this table. So we're going to talk about not Y bars 1 through 6, but Y bar 1, 1, that is glass number 1, phosphor number 1, that was 285. Y bar 1, 2 was 301.67. Y bar 1, 3, first row, third column, first glass, third phosphor, was 281.67. Y bar 2, 1 was 235. Y bar 2, 2 was 245, and Y bar 2, 3 was 225. And it will further be useful in what we have to say and do in this module to think about taking these cell averages and making averages of them going across rows and down columns. So if I average together this number, that number, and that number, I can get a number that is 289.44, and I'm going to call that y bar, what's going into that average, all of the first subscripts are 1, and I'm averaging over the second subscript, and so I'll write y bar 1 dot, the dot saying I've averaged out over that second subscript, and that's a row average of y bars. 289.44 is the average of 285, 301.67, and 281.67. It's going to be further useful to have the average of those three numbers, and as a matter of fact, that guy turns out to be y bar 2 dot, then that is 235. If I make up column averages, so I try to average this guy and this guy, I will get 260, and I might call that a y bar. The two numbers that I've averaged to make it have second subscript 1, and I've averaged out over the first subscript, so I'll call that y bar dot 1. Y bar dot 2 is an average of this guy and this guy, and that is 273.33, and then finally averaging this fellow and that fellow, I get y bar, I get what I will call y bar dot 3, that is 253.33. Those are three column averages, and then whether I wanted to average this guy and this guy, or average this guy and that guy, or average the six y bars in the table, the grand average of those guys is 262.22, and I'll call that y bar dot dot.